Hi, so I'm going to be making two shortish videos to walk you through what we covered in class on Thursday, October 6th, for those of you who weren't able to be there, or if you need a review of that. So first of all, before we start anything, make sure you're in our kitchen project files. My names might differ a little slightly because I have basically a completed project here we're going to use as kind of a demo. So first thing you want to do is in your base kitchen file, make sure you're in a 1/2 inch scale. So way down here at the bottom where it says a 1/2 inch, this little like spinny tool, and then right there is the 1/2 inch. So you want to click on that little triangle, make sure you're at a 1/2 inch scale. So we're all good here. So I can actually close this up now. And I'm going to show you what's already set up and then kind of walk you through how to do it yourself. So together we'll set up a view in a few minutes, but right now this is what we're eventually going to look at and have completed. So what we're going to do for this enlarged floor plan, this will be basically the final thing you'll print out and hand in to me. You're going to have a title mark, basically a tag that's telling you the title of this drawing and the number of the drawing. You're going to have a north arrow. You're going to have a scale. You're going to have all these dimensions in here too. We're going to do that in both the morning and the afternoon class on our projects. You're going to have elevation tags. And eventually when we get to the island, we're going to have what's called a section tag. We're not putting that in today because we're not quite there yet, but you're going to have the majority of these items. This will be what's due Thursday when you're back to class after kind of the long weekend. All right, so I'm going to close this down and we're going to make one together. We'll just say yes for that. So my titles are going to be a little bit different, but I want you to type in enlarged kitchen plan. So here under the view tab, you're going to go to the second button to the left and click add view. You're going to say add a general view. And in your case, you're going to write enlarged kitchen plan. And I'm just going to call mine new just so I can have a different file there. We'll say next. You're going to click on first floor. Next. You're going to unclick at the top where it says constructs, this whole list here. And then just click on base kitchen plan right at the bottom. So then you're going to click finish. And then that's going to set up a new one over here. So we'll open that up and we'll zoom way in. I've got some little box over there, which actually I'll go over now and clean it up. So there's a couple of things you can do. I can go back into the base plan and delete it out. So let me show you how that works. Go in the base plan. There's that little square. So I'll just delete it. I'll hit save, Control S. I'm going to close the base kitchen plan. And then down here, it's asking me to reload it. So, and then I click the green arrow. And so like we've talked about a couple times, this is an XREF file, meaning this is linked. Whoops, sorry there. Let me get rid of that. Meaning it's linked to this base plan, but this view right here, which is what we're on now, it's just like a link to it. It's kind of just sitting there. You can't really edit it, but this is where we add in all our annotations. So right here, one of the issues with CAD is it didn't automatically bring it in at the scale I wanted. So you have to go way down to the 1/8 inch scale here. Yours might look different, but you're going to click on that little arrow and pick a 1/2 inch. And then when we bring in our titles and all our little symbols here, it's going to match the scale of when we print it out. So that's important to have that there. So we have that first. So the first thing we're going to do is put in our title mark. Now I'm going to put it kind of where my cursor is down here because eventually I'm going to have some dimensions here too. So that's going to change the look of this. Oh, another thing we want to do before we do anything, see how my walls are kind of sort of like empty there. Before we leave, we're going to put this in presentation mode. See how it crochets the walls. For now, though, I'm going to turn that off just because I want to be able to see into the edges of my walls here. So we're going to go over to tool palettes, and on this bar here, you're going to right click and you're going to pick document, the second one down. And if it didn't already open it up, you want to be on callouts right here. So if you have it kind of short and squished like this, you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, or you can just make it nice and long like I have it. And you're going to pick the second to last item. So you're going to hover over it and it should pop up saying title mark. So you're going to click on that. So left click once, then you're going to left click over here in the corner and then left click over here at the end. And that basically finishes the command for this. All right. So the way it pops up is you have a question mark here in the circle. So you're going to, with your mouse, double left click kind of quickly. And you're going to type in 1, say okay. On the question mark, you're going to double click again there. And here's where I want you to put your last name. So in my case, it's going to be Conway. Oops, I got keep caps on. So you want all caps on. Conway enlarged kitchen plan. All right, and say okay. Now, notice how it's glowing white here. This is CAD auto-filling the scale. So it's linking it to when you set the scale down here. That's great. CAD sometimes hiccups and kind of messes this up later on in the game. So at this stage, you can leave it like this if you want, or you can double click on it and you're actually kind of deleting and you're going to sort of hard like type in the text. So it's 1/2 inch equals 1 foot 0. So this way, you know, CAD's brain isn't going to hiccup. You've just now entered the text there and it's going to stay. So that's your title mark. The next thing we want is back over in the tool palettes, and we're going to go over to the very top annotation. And we want to get, let's see, the north arrow. And in my case, it's about a little bit more than halfway down. So you click on the north arrow. You want to make sure ortho's on. So I'm going to go and click ortho there. And then you're going to kind of hover it around here. We can move this later. The standard is to have it kind of in the bottom right-hand corner near your title mark. So we're going to stick it here, but then I'm going to point it up and then I left click again. So I can kind of do that again, just to explain the clicks. So you go to the north arrow. So you left click once just to say where you want to position it. And then you left click in the direction you want it to go in. So now I don't have ortho on again. So I'm going to click ortho and up it goes. If I want to move it later, I can just click the move command and this whole thing is a little block and then I can kind of move it up like that. The next thing I want to put on is a bar scale. So that is about 4 down from the north arrow. Click bar scale. And you just left click and it's going to want to go either portrait or horizontal, like landscape. So we're going to go horizontal like that. So I'm pulling it to the right and then it auto fills and it's got the 1/2 inch scale and everything's all set there. So you don't have to do anything more to this part. All right. The next thing we need to put in is our elevation tags. So you've kind of used these already to create the elevation. This time we're just putting in it just the symbol. So for everybody, this one should be A. So basically you're putting kind of like a mark on the floor, telling the viewer where you're standing and what direction you're facing to see that elevation. And we're going to do the same over here too. So for that, we go back to the tool palette and we go back to callouts, which is in the middle. And we're going to get this just big circle right here, elevation mark A1. So it's generally the 3rd row in the middle. So you're going to left click on that. If yours comes in super huge for whatever reason, it means you haven't fixed the scale yet. So make sure you're at a 1/2 inch scale. So if something looks weird there, but it should be roughly this size. Again, you want to make sure ortho is on. I do have it on and you're going to point it up. Now in this case, we're not going to create a drawing. We just need the little tag. You can go ahead and change it to a 1/2 inch here. This part doesn't actually affect much in CAD. So if you forget to do it, no big deal. Right now, you're just clicking call out only. So we'll zoom into that and then you're going to kind of hover to where you see how it just kind of lit up like that. You're going to double click on that and we want to change the view number. Now, for most of the firms I've worked at, our standard has been that we number our plans and we letter our elevations. You're going to see different folks do it slightly differently, but we found that the places I worked, it helps with consistency. You're not like basically running out of number, like you're not going into like 3 digits and stuff. So in this case, it's going to be a capital A. So I'm going to backspace, put in a capital A, say okay. So later on, we set up our elevations. This elevation is going to be labeled A. The next one is going to be B. So we're going to click on that symbol. So again, I went back to the tool palettes. I went to callouts. I'm picking that elevation mark symbol again. And this time we're going to go this way because if we were standing here, then we're facing that wall. This time again, it's call out only. I zoom in, I double click on it. And then this one is a capital B. So say okay. Eventually we're going to have a C going this way to see the island. Some of you might have additional things you have on this wall. You could do that as a C and then the island a D. However, right now for the requirements of the project, you must have A and B. Anything else you do, I'll consider extra credit. So if you're rolling along and you'd like to kind of have this all drawn out, it'll look great in your portfolio too. So go ahead and put other additional tags in if you need to. All right, the next thing we're going to do now is dimension the space. I'm going to show you basically like 2 walls of it. And I did send everybody an attachment of this finished drawing of kind of what to use as reference. So for dimensions, we're back to the tool palettes. We're here on dimensions. And I just want to point out one thing. So if you went up here, there's also an annotate tab. If you put in dimensions from here, which sometimes is a little easier for if you're working fast from your mouse, Right, so we'll put snaps on. And if I do this one, I'm going to show you the difference. So this guy comes in, and if I click on the layer, right now it's on layer 0. It's gonna print out like it's a big fat Sharpie. We don't want that. It's not gonna look good. So that's not the annotation layer. So before you get going, most of you do not, if you weren't in class, you don't have these two yet. So the way we're going to add them, like your list kind of stops right here. So you're going to click on more dimension tools. So like double click that fast. And as that comes up, let's see, here it comes. We did it. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. I jumped too fast. All right, here it is. Okay. So the first one you want is aligned, because you might need that for an angle. So you're just going to click add to tool palette. I'm not going to do it now since I already have mine there. You're going to come back in and then do it again for linear and say add to tool palette. All right, so since I already have linear there, let me go back. Here's linear. I'll show you kind of the difference here. So I'm going to left click right in the very corner of my walls. Now this is an earlier version of this, so these walls don't have the additional layers you guys have. I have kind of these generic ones. But again, you want to get on the intersection of those two green lines where you have, it's basically the corner of your drywall. So if you click here, you click here, you bring this up. See how that's pink now, that magenta kind of color? The layer there, if you look up here, is G Anno Dims. So that's the correct layer we want our dimensions on. So we're going to keep that guy right there. I'll show you a couple things about this. So right away, I don't like how it's running into my drawing and over my doors like that. So I can click on this, and then any of these handles on the left or right, I can kind of just use with my mouse and pull up. So it's really nice and adaptive like that. All right, so for kitchens, you're going to be dimensioning just the majority of the space in here. You're not actually going to be dimensioning all your cabinets, because that information is going to be on your elevations in much more detail. Otherwise, these plans tend to get really crowded. Again, you're going to see some variations in my like real world examples. It kind of depends on what's going on there. Sometimes I will have dimensions of the counter down here, because that's meant for the person who we're ordering the countertop for. So they need the math here of what size and shape to cut the counter for us. All right, so for the basic dimensions here, you're going to do an overall. So the overall width, the overall, well, this is the width here. The other one's the overall length. I'm going to put it about there for now. And then the next round, I'm just going to do this side so you can kind of see what's happening. And then the next step is going to be the major elements like the doors and the windows that really aren't moving, but the folks coming in with all these appliances and things kind of need reference for spaces and sizing. I'm going to bring this one way up, hit enter. Oh, wait, I pulled it from the other one, didn't I? Oh, there it goes. Okay, now it's white. And then linear. And for doors, a couple of people asked in class, you're doing from the kind of just the opening of the door. So we're basically going from here to here. I'm bringing that up. Now, as I bring it up to line it up, don't just eyeball it. You're going to, with your mouse, hover over here and see where the triangle lights up. That's the midpoint. You're going to click that, and then they're going to be nicely all like snapped together and aligned. So back over to this one. And then, so I'm going back over here to my tool palettes, picking linear, going again from the middle there. So now I'm going to the window. So in this case, this is the opening of the window because they have to cut that open for you. So you're going to hover up like this, hover till you get to the little green, and it's going to snap to it. All right. And then let's say it's still white. Let's see what happens there. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Mine's like, there's a little bit of a delay here as it kind of pops in there. All right. The width of the window now. Then we go up there. All right. And then back to linear, and then over to here in the corner and here. Now in this one, I'm going to show you something quick. So if you look at your dimensions, there's this AESA dimension where it's going to generate them automatically for you, which sounds awesome, but some of my students in the past have discovered it. However, I'll show you the example of what happens. It's thinking like, so what I did here is, don't do it, just kind of watch. I did this third one down, dimension interior, and it asked me what wall. So I just left clicked on this wall, hit enter. Oh, let's see. I think I might have, there it goes. Oh, it kind of lost its mind as I was talking. Hang on, let me try that. It worked from this one down earlier. Let's do that one instead. We're going to do this wall, this wall, this wall, enter, pull it down. I don't know what it's doing. All right. So it worked in class, but what happens is it does this string where it measures from the middle of the opening. And that's correct for architectural dimensioning. It's not correct for how we're going to do it in class. So you're going to still need to do this very kind of methodical way. So I'll sort of show you the demo on this side. So you're going to go linear again. You're going to go to the corner. Now, some people have setups like mine where you might stop here because that's going to give them countertop lengths and widths. You're going to go here, and then you go from here to the opening, and then we're going to go over there. And then now we're going to dimension the width of the opening. So we're going to go there to there and here. And then the last one is from there to the inside edge of the wall. And that's going to be your string. Now, right away, I can see I've got this guy out too far. So we're going to click on him, bring this over a little bit. Now, because I have snaps on, it wants to snap to the middle. You can turn snaps on off now and kind of eyeball it. You want to have what looks like a 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch spacing. This later on, we might pull this down. I might change where the door is. But eventually, you're going to work your way all around here. I'll show you what my finished one looks like so you have a reference. All of yours should look fairly similar to mine. Oh, it's trying to, I did some change in the base plan. All right, there we go. So you can see coming around here, I did do this other string here, and I did this one kind of inside there. That's, like I said, this is just variations on it. This wall over here, we talked about this in class. This was like a bookshelf, I think, or a ledge I put in there. So you're going to give me dimensions for that. You're also going to give me dimensions of your clearances. So from your counter to your island, from each edge. This is where I dimensioned the island, so the length of it, the width. I have 2 numbers here because in my case, my island was at countertop level, and then it went up and was at bar tech level. So this again is telling the folks who are supplying my countertop, I need a slab 2 feet wide, and I also need a slab 1 foot 6.5. That's another thing we've got to remember. So some of your dimensions may come in with some funky math on it, like 1/16 of an inch or something. So you're going to click on your dimensions, right click, say select similar, then way over here in properties again, I'm going to move this over. You're going to zoom way down to primary units right here. And where it says precision, yours might say 1/16 or 132. You're going to click on that number, left click on the little arrow, and pick either a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. And that's going to round all your numbers to the closest 1/2 inch, because trust me, no one's going in there and measuring to like a 1/16 of an inch. I think this covered kind of the main things we talked about in class for setting up the enlarged kitchen plan. So I'm going to close this down, and we'll do another video on the elevations too.